Kingdom. Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Maybe good afternoon and good evening because of the time factor. So I wish you all whatever it is. For me, it is good morning because here it is 11:35. I welcome you all to this international seminar or webinar on the career challenges for women in post-COVID-19 world. And we are very happy that we have got a esteemed panel of experts to enlighten the delegates. The employment opportunities all over the world, they are badly affected because of the COVID-19 pandemics. You just have to look at the unemployment figures in the United States and other countries, and including India, to know how much the employment has been affected. And we actually don't have the exact figures also. But because of this mass migration of the people from one place to the other, especially in India, a lot of unemployment has occurred, which we hope will be temporary in nature. And things they will improve in the future. The economy of all the countries, it has also contracted. Apart from China, of all the countries, it has contracted. But now we hope that the worst is over. And we all are on the way of recovery, which will occur gradually. India is also on the way of recovery, because this quarter from April to June was the worst period. So now we are going forward, and definitely the figures which will come in the future will be much better than whatever we have, not only for India, but for all the countries. We are all looking forward and waiting for the vaccine, and we hope that it will come very soon. Because I read on the internet in the morning today only that in the United States it may be available as early as 8th November. And the vulnerable sections of the population may get the shot of the vaccine by 8th November. But we don't know. But we all need groups. And I think this vaccine will be available to all, not only to the rich countries, but also to all the countries of the world, and in a transparent and equitable manner to those who are economic in the world. It will take time. First, we have to find the vaccine, then we have to produce the vaccine, then we have to inoculate the people. So this will take at least 1 year to inoculate everybody. We may not be able to inoculate the vulnerable sections earlier, but to inoculate the entire world population, it will take time. At least 1 year, 1.5 years. So in the meantime, we get an effective drug that can help us. I think in the post-COVID world, there will be more career opportunities for women. Because more people, they are going to do work online. And more people, they are going to work from home. And this is going to help women, especially of conservative and traditional societies, where in some societies, they don't encourage women to go out. So in Muslim societies and in other societies, which are traditional and conservative, especially in South Asian countries and in other countries, women, they will get greater opportunities. Because, there are certain professions which are suitable for women, but in traditional societies, some professions, this is the ground reality. Women, they don't prefer. For example, teaching profession, school teachers, and medical profession, especially child specialists and gynecologists and pathologists, they feel they're more suitable for women in traditional societies. Nursing profession also, but other professions, a lot of outdoor activities there. A lot of traveling is required. And a lot of inspection and tours are required. those job opportunities, they don't suit women. Maybe in Western countries, the situation is different, in developed countries. But it's the developing countries and conservative and traditional societies in West Asia and in South Asia, though things are changing, I'm not saying that things are not changing. Things are changing here also for the better. But we still have to go a long distance before we really get the true gender equality. So I think that in the post-COVID world, women, they will get greater opportunities for career and other things. But first, the opportunities should be there. If the opportunities are not there, then they will not be available neither for the men or not for the women. So first, we have to have the economic recovery and be on the path of progress and development, which I'm sure we will have, especially in the India will, in the near future, will recover at a very fast pace. And though I'm not an economist or a financial person, but I think there will be rebound phenomena is always there. So whether it is the hospitality business, tourism business, or aviation sector, which are the doldrums, the rebound phenomena will be there for the future. Because those people who have not traveled at all for the last 1 year, the first people, everybody will try to go for holidays. And as soon as the situation improves, or they will try to go for anywhere, as soon as we get the opportunity. So in some sectors, the rebound phenomena will be there. And this will definitely help the economic condition. And this will also give a great opportunity to the women also to come forward and take new career opportunities. So I wish this international webinar all the success, and I'm sure that the deliberations will benefit all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the ink of knowledge. Now I request Dr. Rishad Faridi Sahab to moderate the session with these speakers because the Dean Faculty of Commerce has not joined due to some connectivity issue. So he'll be joining. Meanwhile, I hand over this task to Dr. Rishad Sahab to moderate the session. Please, sir.
So, hello everyone. So thank you very much for today's webinar, and I'm sure that in this webinar, we would like to get a lot of insights. We have a global perspective, and I divide this webinar into the 3 groups. One is the post-COVID, the epidemic which has come up. So it's an eye-opener for all of us that it is a startup of as we are having in the global warming side. So the second option is we are focusing on the women. We are talking about from the gender perspective. How can women be a part and parcel of wealth generation and economic value drivers? The third portion we are talking about is the career orientations. So how careers, there was a disruption to the business, but coming of COVID, post-COVID, what that disruption has done, and what are the impact, and what are the possible solutions which we can which can pivot into bringing resilience and which can create a vibrant society. So these 3 things are there. So I'm sure we can touch base on other things also, but today's webinar is more on the global perspective. So first and foremost, I'll request Ms. Sarah. So are you okay? Like you can start up with your success stories and your experience, and you've been working as you are an engineer, as a material engineer. You worked in Rolls-Royce and on various positions from the bottom management, middle, and the top management, and then you move yourself to leadership positions, and then you are a coach now. So with that perspective, may I request Ms. Sarah, you can start up with that. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. Yeah, I'm more than happy to share a bit about my life story. And it's always difficult to know where to start when someone says that. But yeah, I grew up in England and did my degree in materials engineering. And then, as Dr. Richard said, I joined Rolls-Royce, so aerospace, as a 22-year-old graduate engineer, and went through their graduate operations training scheme for 2 years before taking my first job as an aeronautical engineer. So I had to go and learn something quite new quite quickly. It was a bit of a challenge for me, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to kind of prove myself. I walked into a very male-dominated, a white male-dominated organization, and that's nothing, you know, it's where the company was based, and it was very dynamic in terms of getting a lot of different nationalities in. So Rolls-Royce is actually very good at bringing in multiple cultures. However, it's still a fairly male-dominated organization, as was my degree. You know, I was one of 2 girls and a degree of 40 people. So I kind of got myself quite used to this male-dominated environment. And actually, I always saw it as a bit of a bonus, because if I walked into a room full of men, they went out knowing my name, even if they didn't know everybody else's name in the room. So I kind of started my career in Derby, as I said, in England. They moved my department out to Germany in 2006. And I thought, why not? Let's go to Germany for a few years. And hence, this is where I stayed. It's now, what, 14 years later. That was not really in my planning, but I met my husband here. So yeah, I went up through the engineering organization fairly quickly. Within a year, team leader, within 2 years, service manager. I had a team of kind of 20 engineers reporting to me, mostly older than me, mostly men, which brought its own challenges. But I was kind of always interested, always curious, always wanting to know the next thing. And I was actually leading teams that were going out into the field and solving engine issues. So quite an intense environment where you're on call all the time. There's always something coming in. There's always something going on. And you're always thinking, okay, so, you know, how do we keep these planes safe? How do we keep these engines safe in the sky? So there's an awful lot of responsibility early on in my career. And I took an assistant chief engineer role at the age of 27. So yeah, worked my way up relatively quickly. And the benefit that I had was I could take big technical problems and translate them into something more people could understand. And this was kind of the job that I ended up doing quite a lot of the time, was actually taking the tech stuff and making it available to more people and allowing more people to understand it, having communications with our customers. And this is kind of having the softer skills of being an engineer, which you're not always taught, but this was the benefit. Age 30, I actually decided to pivot completely, and I went into sales. Now, a couple of reasons for doing this. We were having issues in the background. I was having multiple miscarriages, and actually thought if we're not going to have a family, then I would actually like to do a job that drives me, passionate, you know, be fun, dealing with people. So took this job as a sales executive and was traveling through Russia and Europe selling aftercare packages on engine programs to very rich people or small businesses. So yeah, that was great fun. And then on the 23rd of December 2010, we got a call to say, a baby's been born, she needs a new family, please will you come pick her up? And that was the day my life really changed completely. It was one of those kind of like pivotal days in my life. So yeah, I was at home for 12 months and then went back to work with a different focus. I wasn't focused on my career anymore. I was focused on, okay, how do I balance this of having a career and having a family? I had a husband that traveled a lot, and we both couldn't do it. So I actually decided I've got myself to a stage where I was happy with my career. So went into a different role and did accounting and contracts, working out how we actually did profit and loss and things like that. So again, changed, but was always using my technical background. And then our second daughter came along. So we got another call to say, there's another baby who needs a home. Please, will you come and pick her up? And it was at that point things started to change. It got quite intense. I was being asked to take jobs which I just didn't feel like I had the energy with 2 young children at home to take. At the same time, my mother got diagnosed with dementia in the UK, so I was backwards and forwards to the UK. And this kind of carried on. I took different jobs and I got really, into the jobs I was doing. And I just felt like I couldn't give enough at home. I couldn't give enough at work. I was being pulled in too many directions. So things started to change in me. And I also recognized that I was really passionate about sustainability. And actually dealing with corporate jets was beginning to kind of not really work for me anymore. And I think this is part of the journey of being mother, is you become more aware of what's going on around you. So yeah, I had a lot of things going on and eventually got to the point where I was not able to continue. So I had a big team. I was running big manufacturing programs, how we build new engines and setting it all up, and responsibility for the kind of infrastructure of the site with 3,000 people. And it got very big. And I one day couldn't get out of bed. I had fever, and I had fever for about 4 months, and didn't see these amber traffic lights until it hit red, until my body sort of stopped. And during that time I was off work. My mother died in the UK of dementia. And that was a kind of a wake-up call to say, what am I doing? I'm running a rat race. I'm not, being the role model to my daughters to actually what they might want to do. In fact, I've always got a choice. And so I walked away from a very well-paid, safe, secure job in industry. And I decided to start my own business. And it wasn't an overnight decision. I think anyone who's changed career quite, aged like late 30s, it's quite a big thing to do. And it's possible. I took all those things that I'd been told.
This is okay now.
In industry that made me different. And I'd always seen them as a bit of a negative. From going in the male-dominated world where I was kind of like, I was always different in the way I saw things. I started actually recognizing, this is my strength. This is what I'm good at. This is what I need to go and invest in myself. And so I took my coaching qualification and came out the other end and got a call from Climate Kick to say, will you become our tech coach for our accelerator startup program in Berlin? I'm like, yeah, tech, sustainability, people, ticked all the boxes. So that's what set me off on my coaching journey. I hadn't decided to found my business, but actually working for them, I had to. And it kind of pushed me in that direction. And yeah, now I spend my days working with fun, inspiring people who want to make a difference in the world. So I'm using my engineering background. I'm using my passion for people. And I'm using the fact that actually I'm passionate about sustainability. I'm passionate about making the world a better place in terms of equality, in terms of, making it sustainable for future generations. I truly believe that we have all the technology we need to make this, or to build the solutions for tomorrow. And I think if we can empower people to stand up and say what they want, what's important to them, and how they feel about it, and then be open to listen and co-collaborate with other people, that's where the magic's going to happen. That's where we can make a difference. And this is, I think, the opportunity that us as women have. We have these skill sets. We're open, and we're generally more empowered to feel what's in a room and actually be able to create an environment where people can exchange, people can show up as themselves. So apologies.
Sarah, I think that, I just, absolutely right. You the career, like what you were talking about, you pursued a certain career and your passion came later, whereas usually the passion should have been the first and foremost, the consequences had brought to that. It's a very interesting and a very intriguing story you are talking about. Go ahead if you have said anything else, or we move to the another speaker. Anything else you like?
Let the other girls give their stories, because I'm sure they're all as passionate and as enthusiastic as me, and then we can come back and discuss.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Very interesting. Professor Imran Salim, can you hear me, sir? I think there's some technology problem. So now I'll request Professor Sami. Professor Sami is really a professional into human resource management. He has a very enriching work done on human development. He has a lot of research publications into from the women's perspective of how a woman has been contributing and how they can be harnessing and leveraging the potential they have. So Professor Sami, we'd like to have this is the first the iceberg session, so we just need to give us a holistic perspective, and then we, at a later stage, we can further go deep into it. So Professor Sami, please go ahead, sir.
Is it open? My mic is open?
Yes, we are audible. You're audible, quite audible.
Very, very good morning. Assalamu alaikum and good wishes to everybody. I know somewhere, I don't know the time differences and all, but it is 9:30 here around. So we are 2.5 hours or sunsets late than India. The good news is, as far as women issue is concerned, I just have little interest since beginning when I was doing my PhD. And at that time, I got interest in women issues. So for last 1988, 89, that was the year when I was introduced to women studies. And that was the new avenue at that time in India. All Veena Majumdar and all that big team, because 1974, the first towards security report came in India. So 80s was when the women issues, the ministry started getting formed and all. Anyway, that is cutting short. So I have developed little interest, but of course, then I went into more mainstream HR research and all. But it is very important, like in the beginning, we don't have less time, so we have to focus on issue. But it is very important to, for a researcher or for anybody, to sensitize yourself from women perspective, because sometimes you are neutral, you don't know how, like, so you just go with the flow. But the moment you become to look into data and the information, then you can better analyze and better understand a situation, either it is a sociological issue or economic issue. So women issue is, biggest story. India has done considerably well. Saudi, we have done wonderfully well in last year. Is supposed to be in last few years, though, without going much into that. But 2019 is supposed to be the best year for women in India. So women's story has becoming good. And this is the Human Rights Watch. I am not saying, it's not my word, in Saudi Arabia. In fact, yesterday I was just reading Women 20, because the Global 20 is G20 meeting is going to be here in Saudi Arabia. And women group has been formed, and they are talking about all kind of issues of women empowerment. So that's I'm saying is a good story. But of course, it takes to evolve any, you can say, that kind of interventions and making things, because the society takes time. Any sociological process or to change any kind of arrangement which we talk about, like, a society or cultural development, it takes time and the process is slow. And there are so many variables, so you have to factor everything into it. Is not a switch. I still remember my supervisor, Surendra Jetli, and she used to be very eminent professor. She was on the Women Commission Board in UP, and she was very active in National Commission for Women in India. So one of the seminar on women, I said, why not this issue? You just fix this. Then she started laughing. I said, why not in first 5-year plan when we became, then he said, no, we have to prioritize and women issue. And then, so as a young researcher, I know when in the Women Studies Center and also, but I was get exposed to the women issue. So I was better organized, or you can say better educated. So that's the very important issue for any researcher I see, or I will tell, to look from women perspective. Similarly, so that because you can't ignore half of the population and all. West is a different story. In India, in our area, like, Middle East and GCC is different story. They have, because they have been forced now. They don't have a choice. Women have to employ themselves to cut out their poverty and all. And then COVID has done really big damage to them, right? Especially everywhere, because women is the marginalized. Yeah, coming back to the Indian story little. So 19, I think, 80s when I was doing 88 or something, the invisible hand, that report came, a National Commission report came on women in unorganized sector and all. And at that time I was working on women in coal mines, but I have interest women working employed in formal sector as well. So I have been exposed to such women, and then I really firsthand, when you as a researcher, I felt, and I feel, yeah, really there is a lot of thing to be done. Though India is overall also we have huge problem, and in COVID scenario, yeah, I mean it is huge, and especially women are suffering, because when we talk about overall, then you find it is not only you can say, because they are the less empowered. They are I was just reading one of the NPR data, and the first wave came when the beginning of the March, end of, like, when they came, because pandemic came on declared on 11th March and all. And with one of the, like, slash 85%, I was just reading ILO data. You say 81% of world 2.7 billion workforce, they went into like anything, because either the I mean the most of the establishment get full closure or partial closure. So most of them 2.7% billion workers, I mean, they just went into hiding, or I mean that created a lot of, I mean, financial hardship also. We just know, I mean, in India, we're just reading 30%, 29.8 or something, the GDP is down. UK also around 20%, US around 10+%. I mean, the economy is down right now. So every country is trying too hard, and they are finding it difficult to sustain in present scenario. So I was just looking at 60%, 700,000 women lost in job in, this is the US data which was visible. I wanted to share our part of data, but we don't have access because it will take time. But at least, so there are 60% those who lost job were women. So if you find all sort of women, especially if you find most across, like I was talking about, that Shram Shakti report in India, informal sector, 90% or more. Somewhere I was just Bina Majumdar, she is one of the rights on, I mean, women issues in India, very celebrated author. And she said 94%, and she's talking about COVID scenario, there is a many-fold the impact is. So it is not losing job, violence at home, and then otherwise all sort of, like, especially when the hospitals, 90% nurses are women, whereas the doctors, I mean, are more doctors are, say for example, male, and they are in isolation ward, all kind of a story coming, violence against women. So there is all sort of things, I mean, coming, a story coming. And if you look at why it is happening, because women, especially if you look at the segregation of gender-based roles, so it is not, I mean, in terms of employment and the benefits, they are not at par with. We all know very well. In US, where I mean, women earn 81 cents as per as $1 earned by men, there is a huge data. Then there is a disparity in terms of senior position across world. So you will find 20% on senior position. This is the world data. And other country will find less. So in Indian situation, or less, more or less close, or less, or maybe a little more. So I don't have access to data, but you will find plenty. US is 40+% where women are more in managerial position or executive. Though you have those green shoot coming here and there, some big, like, CEOs and all coming, and Indra Nui, and also there are not many Indra Nuis, believe me, especially. And those, there has been even a celebrated view that those people who are into, their perspective changed. So they are not so concerned with women issues. So that's also one of the worry. But in recent past, there has been many issues which have been. So like what has COVID has done, all that sort of jobs, like restaurant, like servers, bartender, fast food worker, hotel clerks, housekeeping, cleaners, retail salesman, nails, salon workers, all that sort of staff at theaters, entertainment, like industry and all. So all of them, and service sector especially. because there is a high risk of losing their job, and most of them, a good number of them, they lost the job. So especially, so because if you look at the old data, I was just referring, and I was just saying that most of these low-paying job is, 42% women are in low-paid job, and most of them, they live in or near poverty. I'm talking US, not India. So this was data. So I'm just giving a snapshot of what kind of situation happening in one of the developed countries and all, which we talk about flag bearer of equality and all these. So that is what is happening in that part. So our part of story is here, like I just said, or Indian situation, and also especially if you look at the Indian perspective, if you try to see, or even Middle East, we find the story is not very, if employment of women is concerned, or career, if you try to look at. So career is especially when we talk about work-life balances, like Sarah's story talking about maternity and all. So we all know, the kind of stuff women face, and especially most of them, they get fired if they are not into public sector job or private sector job, somebody, because there are plenty of women to repress them. So there is already a labor pool. So labor market also play important role in that scenario. So I was just wondering, I was just looking at some of the data, and I was finding, especially in US context and COVID, it said 90% women, if you self-employed women association, that SEWA, they just conducted the COVID impact, and they find in 20 different trades that all of the women, they have faced income loss, which is their survey saying in Indian context. So if you look at, like I was just talking about, 83% of nurse and midwives are females, and then vice versa, where male is more into doctors, like 84% in India, the doctors are male. So that kind of like isolation wards and all that kind of happening. Otherwise, also all kind of within the house, even in Indian situation, I was reading or elsewhere. I don't want to comment on more on this part of the story because I don't have data. But this we have seen. We have informally, we have seen that many the divorce rate has gone up, especially, and then violence has gone up during this pandemonium, because people were within the house and all, and that has happened elsewhere as well. So that is the story. Crime, hate crimes has gone, racing slurs, especially, all kind of with you can say, which has been disproportionately for women. Women have 3 times more chances to get this. Is the, because of the race, or because of other, you can say, sociological makeup, to face that kind of brutality. So that is also a reality. Other issue is, if we try to look at what career we're talking about, very important issue is here, the COVID has done, that how we are going to equip them. Like we just talked about 30% loss in GDP. So most of the companies are hard pressed, and women is the least. Like I said, most of them are informal sectors, and informal sectors also, like, those jobs which are service sectors. So they are the worst sufferer. So unless I can say it needs huge push from the government, or like, especially in case of India, and all, how the kind of support system or other, like, that come up. Otherwise, as an individual, like, they are really at the mercy of the most of, like here in our society, most organized, you can say the women have taken lead in, especially in recent past, most of the girls getting, because girls constitute more in Saudi Arabia. So you'll find 60% or more the higher education, the girls only. So girls are studying. They constitute 76% women complete high schools in Saudi Arabia than 60% males. So they are more into school, more responsible. I can't say more intelligent, it will be too controversial, so I don't have any data on that. But they are more responsible, they are more organized, and they complete higher education. That's the Saudi data I'm referring.
So Professor, thank you. We just stop. We just give it now. We come back to the career perspective, because we have a lot of things from you. We've been asking a lot of things. We'll not let you go down. We have with us Dereke. Now Dereke, she is a self lady, and she was I call you Florence Nightingale, something like that, being nursing and being a servant leadership. And Dereke, she has 30 years of experience, and she of late worked in a lot of capacities, and now she's the CEO, the founder of DIL, initiative, and she has. Let's hear some exciting, engaging stories from Tireke. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Faridi. Good morning, everyone. In the time I've had, in this little time I've got, I'll give you a snippet of what my life is all about. I'm a daughter, a mother, well, actually a daughter, a wife, a mother, and a friend. And with me, it's, I would actually say it's probably gone over 30 years in the fact that deal starts with the day I was born without me even realizing that I was starting the deal. Because when we talk about the word deal, in Hindu, it means heart. And that's what I do because with my heart, I'm connecting with people worldwide. It's become a thing that's it's just about going back into going back to nature. Because with me, I realized that with people, with women, with men, with anyone, it goes back to what it is that comes naturally. And what I find is that with a lot of people, we've left what natural is to go into human-made. I won't say man-made, I won't say woman-made, I'll say human-made. Because in not connecting with what we are and who we are, we leave the passion and we leave the purpose. We're just moving, we're more or less like drifting. We've been drifting for so long, that it's become a norm to so many people. When we talk about COVID-19, we wonder, it's to so many people, it was more or less like something drastic that nobody expected. Nobody planned for it. Nobody knew what was going to happen, and nobody seems to know what was going to happen afterwards. But for a number of people, including myself, I would say COVID-19 more or less gave us the opportunity to go back in so that we can come back out. Going back into the core, going back into the essence of who we are. We have Rousseau, when he started and when he was writing about social contracts, he was saying man was born free, but everywhere we're in chains. And then sometimes you think to yourself, who's actually put us in chains? We've actually put ourselves in chains, because rather than actually going with what comes from within, we decided to go out when we were meant to come from the inside to bring out what is already naturally there. And when it comes to women and COVID-19, yes, we're seeing a lot of drastic changes in the way people are losing jobs, because most jobs, the low-end skilled jobs, tend to be with the women. Nursing, caring, and all jobs like that. In some countries, women tend to more or less make a huge percentage of the retail. And a lot of these are going down. They're still going down as we speak. But another thing, looking at what Sarah and Anna do, we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about recycling, we're talking about making use of what we already have, and women are fantastic at doing that. So when I say that women are going back in, it's they're finally getting to be in tune with who they really are. And in being in tune with who we really are, there's so many gems that we're actually bringing to the forefront. And we're actually coming up with ideas, because what am I doing that is so different? What am I doing that is so strange? Nothing. All I'm doing is this, right? I'm connecting people one handshake at a time. Virtually, I'm not even meeting most of the people. I haven't met Anna. Anna has become a friend. Sarah, you're another friend. So with me, when I talk about starting as a daughter, to becoming a wife, to becoming a mother, and to becoming a friend, it starts with you more or less opening your mouth, opening your heart, and welcoming people in. So over the past few months, I've more or less reconnected with what I started years ago. I love people. When I say I love people, I'm not taking it from the stance of wanting to be like the Florence Nightingale, like Dr. Faridi is saying. No. It's just I love to talk. I love to talk. Anybody that knows me knows that I love to talk. I love to engage, and I love to connect people. I love to, my friends, I've got friends that say that you always want us to be friends with your friends. Why not? And now I've got so many friends worldwide. That means that so many doors are open to me. I'm free. And free means that I'm actually connecting with who I really am. I'm connecting with the core of who I am to give forth the best that I can give to each and everyone that crosses my path. Now, on the issue of women and employment, like I was saying, there's so many, creative women out there coming up with different ideas that they never thought they had. Take, for instance, right, when we got into COVID-19, you had so many people that were actually going out into the garden. I'm one of them. I actually ended up doing so many things in my garden that I hadn't had the time to do previously. You have some people more or less like coming up with organic businesses. There's so many things. When you go online, there's so many people going into businesses. Sadly, you're talking about face masks. There's a lady on Deal International Ladies that actually started a business where she's now supplying people worldwide with face masks. Sometimes we tend to think that it's like, what society dictates is who we are. And that's where we lose the connection with nature. When you go back to the core, when you go back to the egg, when you talk about the egg, for instance, right? If it's cracked, if it's smashed from the outside, you kill life. When it's cracked, when it hatches, you give life. A lot of women are going back in because now they're coming back from the inside. They're being hatched to actually show who they really are. Previously, a lot of people were being broken from the outside because society dictated that this is what was needed. I think we're having a new dawn. We're having a new life in so many ways. So yes, we may focus on the figures, we may focus on all the dread that we have around us. That is the reality. But I think a deeper reality comes in who we are as individuals so that we can actually come out renewed to give energy on the level that we're naturally in tune to give. And, I mean, there's so much more I would like to say, but I think I'm going to give, time to somebody else. I would like to come back later. Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Diruke, for your life skills and the transformation you are taking place. And it's a very good saying, a daughter, a role player, a mother, and being an entrepreneur. So the different facets. We'll come back to you again when we'll be more speaking about the career perspective, because most of the participants are young generation, the Generation Z, and they're looking forward what we are supposed to give them some kind of tips which will be really helping and polishing their career perspective. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite Miss Anna. She's a remarkable, fantastic lady. I read about her, based in Sweden, and she was managing a mall. From the retail perspective, she is trading into recycle and sustainable products, and that feeling of trading into recycled products, where from a consumer perspective, we look for a first-hand, well-packed, spick-span products, and she's like breaking that on the box silo thinking marketing concept into a recycle. And let's hear from her the exciting story. Please, Anna, you're welcome to go ahead.
Thank you very much, and hi everyone. I'm so pleased to be here. I'm Anna Bergström. I live in Sweden. I used to be the mall manager for the first recycling shopping mall in the world, REAUTY, it's called. I hope everyone knows about it. And now I'm running my own business as a sustainability consultant, basically. The mall is a quite fantastic concept. It's run by the municipality-owned company, energy company, and they also handle all the waste within the area. And there's a park, a cycle park, not a bicycle park, a cycle park, where you have a recycle center, and next to the center, it's the mall. So private people comes there to just drop off things that they don't want to have anymore, like furniture, clothes, textiles, fabrics, whatever you have in a home, basically. And there's a drop-off area where people just can make a quick stop and just leave things, drop off things there, and then go to the recycle center to sort and just throw things away for recycling. And at this depot, everything dropped off is sorted and delivered to the stores who are established in place. it's a funny thing in Sweden. Every second weekend, we clean out our houses and just go to a recycle center to throw things away. And the next weekend, we go to a big shopping mall just to buy new things. So that's a bit strange, yes. We have a miserable life, I guess. But that's how it works. So, of course, the mall receives a lot of good items in good shape and good qualities, but also old and broken things. And all these items are repaired and upcycled by the established tenants in place. So they are the ones who decides which of these items goes up for sale in their stores again. So it's a perfect example of circular economy in practice. And I just decided to quit my job there after 5 years, and a fantastic journey, of course, but I started to get tired. I worked a lot, like 300-400% for 5 years. So I thought that the concept was so good, too good to just stay in this small city with about 100,000 people living there. So I started my business the 1st of February this year, the best year. And in the beginning of March, my customers who had booked me in as a speaker for their events and conferences started to call to cancel all these reservations, of course. So we're all affected by this, hopefully temporary guest as the virus, I hope it is. But instead of just being afraid and thinking about the possible effects and consequences by not having these assignments, I was thinking about how could I do this instead to continue to spread my message about a more sustainable lifestyle. So I started a podcast, of course. Today, when people are at home, they need to have some interesting and important things to listen at. So I just called a couple of friends who are also active within sustainability, Karin and Sophia, and they just said yes, and we've done it together for this whole spring. Of course, we've been talking about the present situation, about COVID, but mostly post-COVID, actually, and post the climate crisis. What will happen after we've changed the world to a better place, and how could we make it a better place? It doesn't bring any money, of course, but it has kept us up to date. And it's been like therapy for us, because we've talked about this in the podcast, and it has inspired other people too, of course. So that was a good thing for us. And my mission here today, basically, would be to empower yourself and to see what you have and do the best of what you have, instead of just longing for more or other things. I'd say wherever there's waste, there's a business opportunity.
Okay, so I will call when free, inshallah, on the same number.
Sorry? No, it wasn't for me.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to empower themselves and to see the opportunities instead of the problems. Don't get stuck.
Yeah, I think, Anna, it's what is important is that how you have brought sustainability as a sustainable-centric venture, and you are moving towards enriching the communities, and that's the thing. For you, it's not just the economic involvement, but it's a social involvement, and that is what is very important. For it helps the resilience also, because we are all going into the shock waves, right, with the COVID, and everything boils down on economic factors. But if we socially enrich ourselves, so a community as such can generate economy. Allow me, if I can,
Dr. Rishad, I will interrupt here. You
Yeah,
welcomed
sure.
all these experts, all the panelists. Now I think I take this opportunity to welcome you on my behalf, on behalf of the organizing team, to give your information, to give your feedback about the session today. Ladies and gentlemen, before Dr. Rishad Faridi takes over, I would like to tell you that Dr. Rishad Faridi and me have been together for 5 years. It was a wonderful time. In that university where we worked together, I always found him a very dynamic and charismatic teacher who are always busy in a number of student-centric activities. And in fact, not only student-centric activities, he was always busy in research activities as well. And I have seen his research work also. His dedication towards academics was unparalleled. And moreover, recently I have come to know that Dr. Rishad Faridi has started mentoring startups, and also is working on various case studies. So in that way, Rishad Faridi, I think you will be giving a lot of good ideas to our young women. And I was very happy to see the attendees list, and I was very happy to note that I think around 90% of the females are our attendees today. It is a unique combination today, in fact. So I welcome you now to give your feedback, and not only feedback, your submission about today's scenario, about the COVID issues.
Thank you, Professor Nawab. I truly appreciate your thoughts. So let me share my screen. Let me share screen. Yeah. Yes. So as I tell you that my a small presentation will be having 3 chunks, which I'm looking for: the post-COVID, the crisis management, and the focusing especially on the target women's. And then from the women perspective, how the career opportunities and reflection in different facets of career opportunities. So that's what I'm thinking of. I'm more into giving you this scenario where I'm telling you it's just like a pothole we are into, and we just have got this tool, as most of the people are having this this shovel which they're keeping it. And unfortunately, we are into this post-COVID. It's a big deep hole, but the tool and the methodology is unfortunately not matching with what it is. It's good for digging the hole, but when you are deep into this hole, the shovel role or its effectiveness drop downs. So how we can bring this ladder, which can take us a resilience in ourselves, bounce back in ourselves from that hole and coming on that surface. So to start off with, I'm liking to talk about the dilemmas we are facing in the COVID era. So the very first dilemma which I see is the economic versus the health. Which comes first, economic or the health? If I'm unemployed, I don't have the money, my chips are down, definitely it will reflect my health. I'll be having depression, I'll be having anxiety, I don't know how tomorrow I'll pay my bills. Or the another side, the health. Should I be focusing on enriching my health so that I become more healthy, and then I'll be in the position to co-create or bring wealth to it? So that dilemma is there. The second dilemma I see in the post-COVID is recreation versus reserve. We are social animals, and the tendency of building ourselves in terms of impact is more towards recreation. From the marketing perspective, Philip Kotler even said to have business which lunch and golf, you know. So business is driven by recreation. But whereas this COVID era, it has made us reserve, it has put us into silos, into thick walls. So which comes first? Then the social distancing. We see that it is the need of the hour to keep a distance from people around because it's very infectious. But on the extreme side, are we compromising with the relationships? So because if we do not have a good relationship, that social distancing becomes very far, and there will not be any kind of facilities where you can able to bring that mindfulness in yourself. Then in the past, before COVID, it was the mind your business. It's my way of doing things. You are no one to intervene in me. This is the way I work. This is the way my targets are. These are my strategies of business, and that's what I get. But now, should we go for mindfulness? Mindfulness is more of a collective thing. Growth mindset, a mindfulness of a collectivity where we all living into that ecosystem, a cocoon way where we all work together of sharing, pairing, and if any issues are there, we are there to cope up with each other. The coping strategies is what I can think about. Competition. Before the COVID, it was like a competition, how you can move forward, how you can improve your market share, cutthroat competition, be aggressive in the market. Or the other side is the dilemma of compassion, compassionate way of working, forgiveness, empathic, sympathy in others. In the education perspective, it was a degree that matters, the degree of A4 size paper, put it on your walls. Or now is it education focusing on the competencies? Because the industry looks for competencies. The employer wants how you can be more hands-on to us, how you can be a problem solver. But education perspective is more towards feeling accomplished that our institution has taken out, say, 89% or 90% successful graduates. Now I look from the dilemma from the women perspective. The women perspective of the workplace, agonies, pressures, effectiveness, productivity, performance orientation with the house place, most social bondings, reducing the conflicts, playing different roles altogether. The dilemma of online and offline. The women are confused, in fact, where it's online and where's the offline, and where we are supposed to move forward, where we are supposed to step backward. You know, we think about the online e-business and e-learning, but do we have that mindset of that? So a dilemma of online and offline. 24/7, it's 24/7 availability. Okay, we are in the post-COVID session, available 24/7. Or should we have a role demarcation? Okay, a woman from this time, 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, she is an employer, employing someone, she's an employee. And then afterwards, she becomes a mother. And then she becomes the wife, you know, role demarcation. That dilemma is also to be looked into. The high tech versus the human tech. We're more digital transformation taking place. We want to be more leaner. We want to improve our supply chain. But the another side for the women, the human touch, the human tech. So again, that dilemma coming up. Now, in the earlier slide, it was the economic versus it was just to like health. Here it is more economic versus the social. So if the family is segregated, if it's not in touch, the very first thing complaints from the relatives are on the mother, that the wife or the mother, or she is not taking care of her family. She's not ambassador. She's not behaving well. If there's a birthday of a relative, she's not reciprocating and wishing them. It will not be bounced back complaining on anyone else. So she takes a hit always. And then the economic factor and how she can be part and parcel of economic generation. So that dilemma is very sensitive, and sometimes it is very traumatic also. Again, mind your business with the mindfulness, I repeat it, but it's also replicates in the women scenario also. Then there's a very important, the virtual performance versus the virtual relationship. What strategies that women can think about in the virtual digital transformation? She maintains that relationship. And that relationship is very important. It's very organic. It's not a cut and paste concept. It's a build up if it has emotions to it. So it's more of a logics versus the heart. So that dilemmas the women face. And now I'll talk about the career perspectives. So especially let's focus on the women's here, and the passion, the reality, the passion of a student looking for that light bulb moment to come up. But that passion gets, and Sarah has a very good story she was telling about her passion was something else, but she was deep down into certain situations, certain industrial, that she was into that industrial cocoon, you know. So that passion went back, but it came back again at a later stage. So that dilemma is always there, and it may be universal to a lot of people. Employment versus engagement, like focusing on getting that employment, is it that the key performance indicator, or is it that we are supposed to be more engaged with the employment also? So these are the two different things which also has a dilemma on the careers of people. Should we go more networking, engaging ourselves, and then get the employment, or we employed first and then we have the possibility of engaging? Opportunities versus opinion. The opportunities are shrinking down, but the 1,001 opinions coming to that student for her career perspectives, and there will be a lot of dilemmas coming up, and that skews out the decision-making process. The grades versus the skill sets. The dilemma: should I perform very good in my education so that I get a pat for my back from my parents, from my relatives, etc., or should I focus on to the skill set, because that is what the industry is looking for? So that this tightens up to a certain extent. And then moving forward, what is a way to evaluate between the grades and the skill set? Is there any correlation between a higher grade students will be reflected with a high problem solving skills? I don't know, but that's again a big dilemma. The voice of the faculty from the perspective of the university, focusing on, okay, perform well, do your assignments on time, be in the class, do a good work, instructional voice from the faculty and the students reciprocating in a proper way. But do that student look for the voice of the industry, or maybe sometimes the voice of the family? Look, you have to move yourself to be more compatible in the market. You have to be more competitive from the voice of the industry. These are the skill sets we need to have, or these are the new areas of maybe like AI has come up, or the blockchain has come up. So perhaps voice of the faculty, the dilemma of the voice of the industry. The hard skills. Okay, we look to inculcate our learning skills with the hard skills first, and then the soft skills, and perhaps the life skills. But the dilemma is the hand-on skills, which is what is ready to go, which gets you the immediate employment opportunities. So that becomes a dilemma. So I stop here, because now in the second session, we like to have from the panelists reflecting about how for these young Generation Z, what are your food of thoughts for opportunities for them in terms of what they're supposed to do? They're in a dilemma actually, and how can we, with our inputs, may shape them, differentiate them from the others, and what our thought process. So this is the second session. So that is from my side for time being, and then I'll come back to
Dr. Rishad.
Yes.
I will fail my duty if I don't share with the audience about the Honorable Professor Sameer Khan. Professor Sameer Khan, let me tell you, audience, that Professor Sameer Khan is a very great, very big researcher. And let me tell you that I used to read his research papers when I was a research scholar, in fact. We actually, he has done a lot of work. He was associated with the Sri Ram Center of Industrial Relations. So by virtue of that, because he is from HR areas, as my research is also from HR. So by virtue of that research interest, we did not meet earlier. But I used to read his research work published in the Indian Journal of Industrial Relations, published from the Sri Ram Center of Industrial Relations. And that time, their journals published from Sri Ram Center of Industrial Relations was a very big journal. In fact, getting paper published in general was a miracle actually. So Professor Sami was a regular author of that journal. Moreover, he has been engaged in a number of HR, related activities. His core area is human resource management. And I must tell you all that he has done, the theme that we have chosen is basically in the light of the research work done by him, because he has done a lot of work in the career counseling and career development and career planning. So before we go for the next part, I will request Professor Samish, because sir, you started the sessions. I would like to start. I would like to convey that we want to hear from you about the opportunities which are available for the female, because we have a lot of female attending our sessions. So I request you to please throw some light on the opportunities that are likely to come up, or some possibilities which they can avail in their near future. Welcome, sir, Professor Sami Khan.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you. Little I'm feeling the big word for me, little load for me to carry and justify. But anyway, nice word, Dr. Nawab. Just to, like most of us here, I just want a few words and all, career for women or for anybody, am I right? Of course, women, like I said in the beginning, they will have more brunt, and they're already having, because I was just reading, if you look at any sector and all, I was just collecting data a few months back. I was saying, if you look at the health sector, education sector, service sector in US, all women. Same story here, same in India. So it is not going to be. So those are the sectors we all know where women are employed, because they are more marginalized. And the other reason is why women work, most of the situation is our societal condition, right? So in new scenario, if you look at the organized women, otherwise employment, challenges overall, like as a participant also, I got some question I was answering there. Of course, the patriarchal society and all, it is not going to change and all. We start crying and all. It is not going to, the society, it has its evolves at time, it is taking shape and all. And there are very many variables in that case. But the most important issue is how we, most of the people are talking about. So if you look at how COVID-19, the challenges in present scenario, and especially for career challenges and all, for in general, but most in women, we have to focus. Like there is a labor turnover happening. We all know there is a workforce, downsizing going on, training and development, new skill coming, work from home, IT, digital, artificial intelligence. So these are the area. Now the question will be asked, okay, how many women there, right? So these are the area where women are employed, especially in a STEM stream, how many? So those are the challenges, especially for younger generation, where they can look into their career and all. Other issues happening with motivation, sustaining, like employee engagement, what Dr. Rishad was saying. All this is hard time for, believe me, for everybody to sustain. And it is double, when you talk about women, because they have to deal with the family issue, they have to take care of the family, at the same time career. So those are the role conflict. We have been talking about work-life balances and other issues. But these challenges becomes more pronounced in case of women. And I will, the this economic forum, they suggested 5 issues to deal with COVID challenges for every employees. And women, in case we have to focus, we have to identify, prioritize. First is reskilling and upskilling. So this is the one area where we talk about. The other area is supporting the job of tomorrow. So you have to identify it. It is just to say and very fancy to discuss here, but it has to be done. The homework has to be done. What exactly, those are the agencies. So it is all stakeholder. It is not, you can say only the researchers or activists and all, but rather than all stakeholder, has to play the role. So they have to identify it, and they, especially in women case as well. And then they have to identify what are the area where we can, firstly, we can redeploy or re-employ. This is the third area. Then fourth, they are identifying as re-evaluating essential work and improving the quality of job. So this is the fourth topic that they're talking about. And resetting, putting the reset button to education, skill and job system in post-pandemic society. So this is happening. Society is in many, there are a lot of ideas emerging, but these are also talking about how education skills and jobs are going to emerge in post-COVID scenarios. So they say we have to reset button all. Career challenges are huge, we all know, but in general, it is equally for men and women. The attitude, you have to be positive. I know the challenges. So I just say for younger generation, some of the question I'm saying, I will talk about attitude is very important, and nothing can stop. So working women in that case, and that's why they have come so far. I told you the story here, the kind of struggle and all, and this is all good story here. In India also, you'll find despite all these, the women visibility has gone up, and everywhere you're saying, now just now we read, okay, in the military also the top position they can go up. So changes are happening. Of course, 1920 women started vote in US, am I right? Just 1920. Still we are looking for a women prime minister. India has a, president, and India we have prime minister. Even country like Pakistan, we had women prime minister. So there is the positive attitude, which I will just talk about few things, and I will say, yeah, there are challenges, there are negative environment, and also you have to avoid those people, habits, things, and all those, like, where you can tell yourself, yeah. So most important issue is believing in yourself for everybody. And in case of women and all, there is a young woman who was asking question, considering things from very angle, and don't give up, don't give in. The most important thing is family and friends. Though I know the family violence has also gone up, but it's still like, it is the family. Most of the women's story we have seen and all. And I see family is the best thing happening too. So family or friends are hidden treasure, even for working women. Most of the successful women, behind we find there is a men. So similarly, like behind men, if I say why I reached here so far, believe me, there is a women. Which is, I think, otherwise it was not possible to reach me. What I have achieved little in my life, starting from very, you can say, the kind of the background I had, and Alhamdulillah, I say. But you need people. So that support system is very important. Whatever kind of a structure within patriarchal society, and also family and friends are more, and most important thing is most of the women who are going to pursue, especially younger ones, the students who are here, you have to hang on your dreams. So never give up, hang on your dreams. And most important thing, ignore those who will discourage you. So you have to be very positive and all, and just do it. What is the Nike saying? I'm not advertising, I'm not paid by them, but that is true and all. So you have to keep on trying. Most important thing, love for your first. Most of the sacrifice is the element. In fact, nothing has, if our prophet, I was just saying, like, the respect of women and all. They say, who you love you most, right? So the prophet says for mother 3 times, and when came father, he said 4th time. So you can see, even the love women is highly, like, this is the prophet saying. And most, that's why in our society as well, in Middle East society, I was just reading one paper on Wasta. Wasta is some of people who will be available, that is the family connection and all, and the support. So most of the women who are moving up, or they are visible. So the family support and family connection is the positive Wasta I'm talking. It is a big topic, big HR issue, and a lot of research emerging. Earlier people not used to talk about this, but comparatively now they are talking about that. So in a positive sense, they are pushed by family, their friends, husband, and all people around them, and they make them successful. So this is very important, is family and friend, which I'm talking about. And there are 2 things and all also, like I said, love yourself first. So you have to like hang on your dream, you have to have developed. So sacrifice is good, but you have to see, yeah, where is that thin line? So not to like, mostly in our society and all. So you have to take care of your health, and of course sustain, like we talk about for everybody and all, and to be very ethical and all. This is also very important, without any bias and all. I'm saying that sometimes women are like that, that 2 women, they can't be, they will talk and also all kind of like, those ethical standard for everybody and all. So it is not, it is gender neutral, I'm saying, but always strike a fair deal. That's the open your eyes, see things are really are, and quitter never win. Practice makes you perfect. So these are the basic fundamental attitude, you can say, where it will pep up your positive thinking. Zero in, or the Z is for zero in your target. So I just few things, but the most important thing I feel for anybody and all, and women as well. We talk about CIS syndrome, I talk about always. So there is a, somewhere I read like, C is the CIA, nothing to do with US. So C is the complacency. You have to do it. So never, tomorrow never comes. Like here in Saudi culture, we say bukra. So bukra means tomorrow never comes. So complacency is the #1 enemy for everybody, and it is for all of us. Ignorance, the I is for ignorance, knowledge. It is all about knowledge. and education, like I'm just talking about. The impact is happening in our part of the world because women are educated slowly. So that glass ceiling will go and slowly go. Of course, you need that environment. So, so ignorance is the most important thing. Women are in India also, that education is going up, and all sort of education. In West, what has happened? My son was when in US he was doing. So I used to ask him the question, how many women in your faculty of engineering? He was computer science. He say out of 300, maybe 5 or 6 women. I mean, girls. So that representation has to go up. So I don't know. I mean, there are many stakeholders right from. So they have to participate. That they will reflect. So then that will be you can say pool have to be developed, more participation and all, because those are the area hot potato. I'm right. So those areas into science, technology, especially. So India is doing very well and all, and many women are doing. But we need to basically empower. That's why I say education. So ignorance. And the A is very important, which women are really, I mean, most of the women, they lack less, men have more arrogance. That is the enemy number one. So you have to shed your arrogance. It is equally for gender women and all, especially successful women and all. So once you go up and all, and then you just don't look into, you just become more self-centered and all. And sometimes people are ignorance and that double, they are arrogance as well. So sometimes it is very dangerous proposition, right? Because sometimes they don't know that they don't know. He doesn't know that he or she doesn't know that she doesn't know, or he doesn't know that he doesn't know. So that knowledge, complacency, ignorance, and arrogance, these are three for all of us, and especially for men, I'll say the education and all. And that you create I have worked with beautiful women in terms of competency and all, right from BHU when I did my PhD. My colleague Ranjana Sheel, she just was the head of history department and all. She was center for women studies. She was director for quite some time. And most of the I see huge. I mean, I learned a lot from her. She was in Delhi Miranda House and wonderful. I mean, Lady Arvind College graduate. And even when I was Shriram Center, I worked. There was Rama Joshi. Yes, I was her paper on women. He was editor of Indian Journal of Industrial Relations. Right? I learned a lot from Ramaji. Not get. So what I'm saying, everywhere you will find people other than professionally, I mean, who are successful women and all. So for women, the key issue is how you sustain, find out that environment, and overall the stakeholders which are there, especially those institutions, have to play important role. So how you retool those skill, up-skill those in this is the time for challenges and all. And of course, you have to have take care of and in terms of creating those. So those sensitive, gender sensitive has to be there. When job is to be reskill on new job has to be created post-pandemic. So that's what Beena Agrawal is saying. I just read on United Nations University website. She teaches at Manchester, and she's one of the great women author in India. She's one of the Beena Agrawal big name in women studies in India. So she was talking about that when we create those opportunity and retooling and all, then you have to, from gender perspective, you have to sensitize. And that's why from the very beginning, 1974, when Towards Equality report came on women, they said to break the women. So not to look at the data as abstract and all, rather than put in male, female, so that you can see the differentiation and you can see the more, any problem as a sociologist, right? If you look at the absolute data, it doesn't tell you. But the moment you go into, that's why it is happening, then you go into the problem and you can fix the problem. So if that was, I will take leave, and I hope, I mean, any specific question.
Great, sir. Before I hand over the dice to Dr. Irshad Faridhi to take care of the question answer session, because we have some queries from some of the attendees. So before that, I would like to say 2-3 words, sir, because you made me nostalgic today when you talked about the Rama Joshi, because I also was his reader. I used to read a lot of papers written by her. And you also made me nostalgic when you talked about the Bukra and Vasta, 2 words we used to hear in Saudi Arabia invariably. So, but one question before the question answer session starts. One question, sir, is from me. You mentioned in this discussion that behind every successful man, there is a woman. I would like to know, because for the last 1.5 hours, we are just busy in academic activities. So just for fun, I asked you one question, sir. Who is behind every successful woman?
Successful women, you mean?
You said that behind every, we all say that behind every
You
successful
asking
man
my
there is
question
woman.
behind me?
But I asked one question: who is behind every successful woman?
Successful women, am I right?
Yeah.
Of course, men. There are many men behind, because if you, that's why.
Sir, which man, sir? Which man?
It can be father, it can be husband.
No, sir. No, sir. I have very good answer to this question. A man, of course, there is a man behind every successful woman, but the man is who always says ladies first.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, now I hand over to Dr. Rishad Faridi to take care of the chat messages which have come from the attendees, so that we conclude the session at earliest.
Yeah.
I now want to say
very
something.
much. Yes, thank you very much, Professor Nawab. So I'm looking at the chat box. So let me see the Q&A. Unfortunately, Sarah, she had to leave, so she apologized for that.
You will answer on her behalf, I believe.
Yeah, I can. So I see the question and answer session. There's a question from Dr. Muhammad Jangi Ali. He asked respected panelists, how can women is facing the career challenges in higher education in India? So, I mean, why only career challenges in higher education? Because of the constraint of time, let's say, what are our food of thoughts for what we are supposed to do today in real time for career improvement and development or career enrichment for especially women? So we can think from a global perspective as well as we can think from the country-based regional perspective. So anyone wants to start up? Like Anna, you want to say something? Yes,
Yeah.
please, Anna. Yeah, go ahead.
Of course, it is the opposite. Behind every successful man, there's a woman, of course. That I think everyone knows that. And of course, education is really important. Of course, it's about expectations in yourself and the surroundings. And I think mostly men in the world needs to see the value of women. Women can do much, of course. They could take this education, they could demand the jobs that men gets, and they could look the other side and just move forward like men do. But did you know that if you have like 50% in the border, you can increase the profit at a company so much that you, I don't know, but it's about the group, the dynamic and the harmony. And I think everything gets more fun with ladies included and more effective, I would say. So I have a question for you all, guys. How does your border looks like at the universities and as the ambassadors for the ladies entering the world and entering important positions in life? How do you manage your universities and working places? Do you have women in the border?
Yes, why not?
Yeah.
It's almost it's a culmination of both women and men for the and definitely it's we look forward for working together. You know, it's they complement each other very well, and it has been proven. And it's from the HRM perspective, it's the servant leadership. Perhaps the personality reflects more of a women gender, so it helps. It improves upon it. So, what do you think, Professor Sami, about it? What's your thought about it?
Great. I'm really impressed with Anna's things, what she's doing. I read on the website, BBC website, and otherwise as well. It takes great challenge, and what she's referring, I can understand. So any like, you know, I told you worldwide, if you look senior management, women are just cut 20%. But 20% is, if you look at from where we have come, from 4% to now we have reached. So of course, somewhere we have reached, but it doesn't ensure if you reach to the top and those, if your representation means things become very good. Most important thing, if you look at for women, if you try to look at the women employees are, like I say, my associate or I mean colleague or as a head, my supervisor was a woman, my PhD, and she has given me tough time. Most of my people have said she's a separated. Well, the whole Indian women you said, look, women studies group, no. Jetli, fast Professor Jetli, everybody knows in India. So she was a very high, tough, she was a Fulbright scholar and she was a very tough taskmaster. So you're individual, but women are seen as an epitome of, you can say, softer skills. They are, they have those, I mean, they are not, say, like in men case and all. If you look at the personality dimension, which we was talking about, servant leadership or otherwise also. So the team working, like you're saying, and you can leverage. So they are better team player, because if you try to look at, there are big 5 personality theories which talk about, how women are like basically a team player, how good you are conscientious. So women are much better, I always say. They are better organized, they are more responsible. So those traits, those qualities and all are very important. Other is, there is one of the, I mean, challenges which is in tough moments. So it is all about training since childhood, how they have been trained. So neuroticism or like, a stress moment, even they take nicely. Like we have seen here, and most of the time I drive personally from Shahina, my wife, I'm right. Most of the time when I'm done doing this, she is always at my back to give me strength. And I see women are, I mean, the real source of like compassion, love, kindness. So they are the epitome. That's the mother nature, am I right? She's saying it takes into everything and all. And in our society, is a different, of course, sacrifice. It goes to other level. So any extreme is not good. In the West, it has gone to other extreme. That movement, that's why this has little disarray. And some of those even men active people who has to support of women movement, they are talking about because diversity is good, but at the same time it should include everyone and all. So that should be taken. So diversity management is the big issue, especially for our part. It is happening now in India and all. But it should not, it should take care of, like every organization we learn. Similarly with the organization, any countries, we talk about strategic objectives, and then we look into the structure, what we create. So if you have a structure system in place, then they can deliver those business strategy or plans of the government and also any women movement or any women issues and all. You have to create, like, that's why saying involving a stakeholder and all is very important issue. Similarly here we have like women, we have very good professors, women, especially in my universities. Though we have of course the campus here in most of the Saudi Arabia or Middle East, you will find we have separate campuses. But I teach some of the women, like, online, and we have excellent. Most of the time the homework returning by the girls are much better in quality, less of the plagiarism, and they are more on time. Because when I taught performance management system one semester, so that is what we call, they are completely more disciplined. And I say team working and all, they are more responsible. That's why they complete more higher education in our part of the world. These are the qualities which will take them. But of course, any society and all, like I say, a family can, like, equally, there are certain where the men has to be behind them, right? So it is not, I can say, what nature has created, but I mean, respect for women is the most important thing for any society and all, but not as something you are giving as a charity and all. They have every right. If we are saying men and women and all, something like, we are not giving women, like, because some of the women may get different. No, I'm equal. Why you're telling me women first and all? They have every right and their individuality to place themselves at equal pedestal. So that's the key issue to understand and appreciate by the people. And that's the key issue. Respect is the key issue. At workplace, any individual and all. So every woman have the right to get respected, and his place which she deserved, because it's knowledge, it's competencies, and whatever the quality she has got. And every individual, we should equip ourselves, and then we can make more sustainable society, less of conflict, either the marriage or family or at workplace and all happening, less of the conflict and more giving, especially in COVID scenario and all. So if you become more giving, less giving, and we are talking about sustainable society, then it is less of materialistic and more of the human dimension and all. So if we can make a good balance of these, then the life for men and women, all of us, will become more meaningful, and you will enjoy. We all complement each other. So we are, we can't say, most of the corporates or otherwise as well, we need all, like there are certain things and where you need them, right? So, but you have to have where you need problem, you have to look from perspective. So gender, you have to take into, factor into those reason and on, and look into, but don't only look gender and all. So you look into reason and then find out what exactly, how we can make a workplace better and all. So that's my approach, what I have learned, and still learning women's studies and always open to new ideas. Thank you very much.
We have a question from Muhammad Saad Zafar, and I think this question takes a lot of issues. He says, what is the biggest challenge for women nowadays? Job, security, or education, or managing family and job both at the same time? How can she manage both smoothly? So I think it's a very broad question, but we can have a food of thoughts from all the panelists, and then we ask Professor Nawab to give his concluding remarks. Is it fair enough?
Yeah.
Yes. So we will start with Anna. Yes.
Yeah, I could just share my secret.
Yes, please.
For the last 5 years, I've been working 3 hours 3 hours away from home. So I drive by car 1.5 hour both ways. I have 4 children, 4 daughters, actually. And I have a family and a big house. So it's a lot of taking care of household and children and husband and everything. But we share the household, me and my husband. And of course, we let the children help out. And not because of their gender, because they are lousy housekeepers, I can tell you. I think I could handle boys even better in that particular area. But it's about streaming. You don't need to download everything in your body. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to do everything by yourself. It's about get help from others and to delegate certain assignments that other people can do for you. I've managed around 60 people at my work. And of course, no one can do everything alone. You need to have the crew at work and the crew at home. Everyone can do something. So as a woman, as a servant, often you expect to do a lot of things for other people. But you know, when you sit in an airplane, you get the mask in case of an emergency, and they always say, put it on yourself first before you put it on your child. So I think that's the way to think in the daily life too. You need to take care about yourself, and then you can help others if you have that time and force to do it. So that's my simple advice.
Thanks,
That's
Anna. Deruke, what's your thoughts, please?
That's quite interesting because we're talking about, like, you know, collaborating, delegating and things like that. I think it goes back to the family, because when if you're actually taking it from the roots, the foundation, as in the family, things can work out. And when we talk about COVID-19 has driven everybody back home. People are having to work from home around the family. They're realizing that it's like there are so many things that we're going out to get that they could actually get from inside the home. You've got the father, you've got the mother, and you've got the children, and they're managing. When we went into quarantine or lockdown in so many countries, there was that belief that it's like there were so many questions. How are we going to cope? Because parents ended up having to educate their kids. Over the past number of years, you realize that people were believing that the only people or institutions or bodies that could actually educate their children were teachers. And a lot of people lost the skills, or more or less put the skills under lockdown as well, to go out to chase things that they could actually have achieved from the from the confines of their homes. Now, what I'm finding as well right now is this, right? People are having to redefine. They're actually having to redefine positions and roles within the family. People are realizing that it is okay to actually work at home and actually build a family more than chasing things that are out on the outside. So it's when you're working together, things tend to work. When you're working together, things work. It's not about giving praise to women or giving praise to men. It's about identifying and understanding that people have their different roles and they have their different skills. So it's just because women tend to take the nurturing, position in most cases doesn't mean that the man can't. And we're realizing that sometimes the men seem to be doing better jobs in some roles and the women are doing better jobs than some men in some roles. Not because it's a competition, but because that's the reality. Because when we go back to nature, you realize that if you allow things to move naturally, things work. But over the past number of years, like I was saying at the start of this discussion, we've ended up taking on human-made ideas and cast to the side natural ways of doing things. In coming back home, we're getting to go back out in the most natural way possible. Young people are actually getting to understand what it is to grow up as human beings, to have empathy, to have compassion. Now, when you talk about passion as well, with regards purpose, if you allow people to actually dig into where it actually starts from and allow them to take the reins of decisions with regards where they want to be, we won't have problems with regards jobs and education. But what tends to cause all of this is that it's become a competition. People are competing with the next door neighbor to buy what it is they don't need. When we went into COVID, when we went into lockdown and quarantine, we realized that there were so many things because there was so much time on our hands. We realized that there were so many things that we had been buying over the past number of years that we needed to get rid of, because we ended up realizing that there's so many things we don't need. The things we need are in the two-legged people that you have around you. You need the relationships. You need the strength to draw from people that are close to you. And you realize as well, that's sometimes you had so many circles of friends, of acquaintances that were not necessary in people's lives. Family came back to being the most important of all the circles we talk about. You walk out into the shops these days, you can't even move up to a meter close to the next person. And shopping still gets done. I actually prefer a lot of the changes that have come to be due to COVID-19, because like we said, it's driven people back home to more or less take stock of what is the most important, and that is family and a few close friends. How many friends do we need to survive? How many acquaintances do you need to actually survive in the workplace? I mean, when you think about it, for the first couple of weeks in England, a lot of people were in, a lot of offices were closed down, and the economy was still running in its own way. Why can't we continue to do a lot of things we were doing in those times? Because definitely there were certain things that were very good that we can actually hold on to build a stronger society. And it is about men and women working together, not having to give praise, because in a way it could be patronizing, giving too much praise to the man or giving too much praise to the woman, because in a way that proves that we are all constantly believing that, oh, we need to embrace. But like Dr. Sami was saying, it's not about starting something new. It's about going back to the old, to bring awareness back to people, bring awareness to the kids about the way it used to be, because we do know the way it used to be. Maybe not necessarily from what we've experienced as people most times, but from what we've read in the past with regards to what happened before we came to be. And it's natural. It's like riding a bicycle. Once you know how to, you may leave it for another 10 years, but when you get back on, all you need to do is pedal. Let's keep on pedaling. And I'm just going to leave it for
Okay, thank you. Your food of thoughts, I'm afraid we are running short of time. But I just want the last one word you have to speak, what you think, a tip, a pivot tip we can give to the career, young, budding women who are plunging into that career opportunity. So one word, what you can think about. So we can start with Anna first. What is the one word you give as a wisdom, food of thought?
Empowerment yourself. You can do it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Gurake, one word, please.
The gates are open. Start running.
Okay. Wonderful. Professor Sami, your wisdom thoughts in one word for these lovely participants.
I will just say, go with the flow. That's the key issue now. So just go with the flow. Things will be fine, inshallah. I'm very hopeful. Even
Wonderful. So
career challenges or otherwise the kind of challenges they are having, they have to identify and go with the flow. That's what I feel.
Wonderful. So no looking back and forward thinking approach, and move forward with it with a lot of compassion and working. So I think this is such a wonderful discussion we had with such a wonderful panelist, and I hand it over to Professor Nawab Ali Khan for his concluding remarks.
Thank you.
You have to unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Rishad. In fact, I'm tongue-tied when I listen to I listen to the galaxy of experts today. I feel myself tongue-tied. The total discussions made by you all had, in fact, become a treat for me, and I'm overjoyed, in fact. So I thank you all from the core of my heart for being with us. Now I request Dr. Nair Rahman to present a vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. In the end, I thank all the experts and panelists who had, and the thoughts which have been shared by respective speakers will go a long way for influencing our students and the participants of this virtual international seminar. I hope that they will be, and I'm quite sure that they will be benefited with the discussions and deliberations which has happened today. And already I would like to inform the panelists and also the chairman of the session that more than 150 people were watching this live session on YouTube, as well as we had around 80 participants in this particular international virtual webinars, and there were around 350 registered participants who are also asking to have such more webinars in such form where we discuss such key issues. So I thank all the experts, Professor Sami for his valuable insights on the research findings related to women and HR perspective, Rashid Faridi, Rishad Faridi Sahab for moderating the sessions in the absence of the Dean Faculty of Commerce, as well as presenting his valuable thoughts with the PowerPoint slides and influencing and bombarding all of us with the very valid points which are important to move forward and go with the ladder. Ms. Sara, she has left the session due to some engagement, but her experience and lessons on life were very important for all of us. Ms. Diorica for her valuable insight with respect to family and the social issues which we need to tackle, and how we should utilize the traditional and old wisdom in a new kind of world. And Ms. Anna for the sustainability experience which she has shared with all of us. And I hope, and it is quite important that we take up that sustainability issues in the future, and we can have some sustainability sessions with her also for our students and faculty in the future. So I thank all the panelists, the chairman, Department of Commerce, the Dean Faculty of Commerce, and Vice Chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University, Professor Tariq Mansoor Sahab, for patroning this particular event. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.